and beyond.
Hello, morning everyone. Thanks for coming along. This is a little bit of a bonus for me. First live stream of the year, first live stream for quite some time actually. I'm assuming it's all going out live and fine. I don't have any earworms, so if I missed something in the chat, my apologies, but just looking through, great to see so many names there, some familiar ones and some new ones to me, so that's brilliant as well. Thank you so much for coming along to watch a little bit of turning and a bit of colouring, possibly a bit of texturing as well. So looks like it's running all right according to what I've got in my monitor, and let's crack on with it. I'm going to make a small bowl today. I'm going to colour it, and if that goes so quickly, I might even turn all that colour off and do a bit of texturing as well. So let's get started. Go to my overhead camera, and here I have a piece of beech. Not hugely big, about 10 inches across, nearly 2 inches deep. Got my centre finder here. I'm going to put it on a screw chuck just to get it started off. There is a little dimple here, which I imagine was used with the circle cutting jig from the suppliers. But if you don't have a mark, you can use your centre finder to sort of get a rough idea of where the centre is, and you can see how rough that centre is. Only, well, a couple of the lines go through the dimple, but that's good enough for our purposes. Going to put it through, drill it with a 7mm drill bit. I'm just going to eyeball the depth, and hopefully I won't have gone too far. I'm sure we will find out. The screw chuck will come quite some way into it. I don't really need it that far in, so I've got a little MDF spacer here. So just wind that on, and then wind the chuck in to the blank. Always takes a bit longer than I think, this bit. Actually, it's quite good because it's rather chilly in the workshop today. Just lock the headstock, and then I can do the last bit of tightening by hand. I'm going for a very simple shape on the outside or on the back, but I will finish it off, so there'll be a bit of sanding. If it gets very noisy, then I will, of course, mute myself a little bit. So let's see, maybe we'll go with this angle and put my little face on up there. Right, so I've got it mounted. Spin it by hand, check it's not going to foul the tool rest as it did just there. I'm going to change the tool rest to the Vic Mark 1 for no other reason really than I actually find this one a bit too deep. I find my hand knocks on it a bit, but never mind. We'll get by with this one perfectly fine. So it's a little bit wavy, this blank. So I will start off slow, and I'll do a pull cut across the face of it to get to get it trued up. And face shield on, dusty face shield on. Good morning to everyone else who's just joined into the chat. That's wonderful, nearly 50 of you out there. Very flattering, thank you everyone. Right, bowl gouge, 3/8 with a long grind on. Going to do a pull cut from the centre, although probably I might start near the edge because of that wobble. Over here it's quite pronounced, just to get that trued up a little bit. It's not a case of just putting your tool on and drawing it across. Get the bevel touching, twist the tool round till the cut's on and then pull. So bevel on, not cutting, turn it round, cut, and then just bring the tool back. Repeat that. One of the reasons I like doing it with this cut instead of a push cut is it puts the shavings in front of my lathe. Much easier to clear them up from there. Slowly clearing it up. Go into the centre now. There we go. So reasonably true, not quite cutting a little bit there. It hasn't yet been picked up by the cut. So move the tool rest in a little bit and a sign that your tools are sharp are that you get lovely curly wispy shavings coming off. Right, that's all cut. Now I just need to make a recess. I'm going to turn it on a recess rather than a spigot today. And I'm just eyeballing it roughly. Needs to be 70 millimeters, thinking of a different chuck. That is 62, so plenty of room. One more cut with the parting tool. I prefer to use a recess just on these shallow bowls, not on anything deeper, because it helps with the returning. I don't really need to do an awful lot of returning on the back. So just take out what's left in the middle. And then in the middle here, coming on the tailstock camera, coming a bit closer. I could keep it flat all across here, but put a little dish in there just for a little bit more decorative. Little dimple in the middle. There we go. Pops into your chuck, into your gouge. Right. It needs to have a dovetail on there. Just pull that back out so it's a bit better focused. Put the dovetail on with a skew. Needs to be slightly higher tool rest. And then if I go onto the overhead, by putting that little dish in there, when I put this tool in, it's not cutting across the full width of the blade. It's just cutting on that for about 1 centimetre or so. I like to put a bit of texture on the inside. Saves a bit of sanding. So to do that, I'm going to use my Sorby texturing tool. Need to move the tool rest back to get enough room so that this wheel won't spin and hit the tool rest. Need to cut on centre with it slightly trailing, so I need to come back a little bit and then up a touch. And this will put a nice little orange peel effect in there. You need to persevere with it, it builds up slowly. We just have a look at that. Nearly there, a bit more needed. Taking care near the edge there not to catch it. That's enough. Right. Now I need to make the rim that or the foot that the tool will sit on, that the bowl will sit on. So I want to make that about there, and I'm not going to go quite as deep as I have in the recess there. It's always better to start this a little larger than you actually want it to be and then move into it. Don't know why I've got the tool rest quite so far away. That will do. So you'll notice it's a little ragged at the edge, but I can come in now and just put a very slight undercut on here so that it's taller here than it is there. Having a quick eye in the chat. Any questions? No. Here we go. So a lighter cut. Not sure if the overhead will catch it. Yeah. So it's quite a slight undercut. Not very deep at all. You can check if you've done it by putting a little straight edge on there, and it's barely 1 millimetre, so I think I can go a little more. Of course, what I don't want to do is to go too far in here and then lose my grip. So that's enough. Now I'm going to have just a simple curve on the outside. So I'm going to start by turning away the edge here. This throws shavings all over the bench, so I'm just going to cover up behind me so none of that gets covered in shavings. Again, using a pull cut, coming across about 45 degrees. I'll work the curve a little later. I'm going to stop there because if I come onto the overhead, you'll see I've got quite a bit of tool overhang. No, you can't see because I'm too far out. Quite a bit of overhang of the tool, so I want to address that by coming round. And now I can cut and have more of the tool supported. Okay, so we've got a bit of the shape coming on, a bit bumpy there, I think you can see that, torn out quite a lot, but I'm just doing the rough shape. But what I want is a curve that starts here and runs all the way round. So I'm just working on the very bottom now, swinging round. If I come on a wider shot, you'll see I'm not really moving the tool so much as moving my body. And because I'm in line with the platter here, or the bowl, I can see the shape that it's making. I want to be careful coming near to the foot that I don't catch it with the gouge. And I can now see I've got a curve all the way into that edge. So now it's a case of bringing it round the corner. So if you do use a pull cut, you do find you have to move your tool rest quite often. Now, some of the earlier aggressive cut was left a bit of an uneven surface, so I'm just gliding over that now, much lighter tooling. Let's have a look. You can see various lines and tool marks, but we'll get rid of those shortly. I need to change the angle of the tool rest again and where I stand. Slightly closer to the headstock now. Pulling round the corner. Again, I'll show it on the long shot. So you can see the tool is really staying in the same position to my body, and it's my body that's doing the shaping. Nearly all the way round. So I'm looking up here and I want that to be a smooth transition. It's not quite, it flattens out a bit there. If I go on the overhead, see what I want to do is to bring that edge in. So I've got almost right angles at the top. So I'm going to change tool direction and cut in with a lower wing. See that tightening up the curve. That's a bit better, it's a little lumpy, so keep refining it. Drop my handle down lower. Take a finer cut in there and blend those two together. Okay, so I'm quite happy with it there and here, but not here. You can see I've got one curve and then another curve. So I now want to work on this area. To get that curve continuous. So I'm working back in, and although this is a bit that you don't see, particularly when it's down on a table, it is something you'll feel when you pick it up, so the shape is really important. I mean, even though I'm going to colour it, the shape is important to me, definitely. Right, so you can see now, hopefully that area there where it was a little bit two curves not very well joined. It's looking more seamless. Right, so let's get a little bit of better finish on there. Going to bring the speed up. And I'm going to shear cut. This will be the better angle, I think. So onto the tool rest, almost closed. Just running gently on that edge, building up very smooth shavings. Spin it round a little. And a little more. A little more. Very fine wispy shavings now. Going, just breaking up into dust. Right, so you saw Jamie's bowl and he coloured the back of his. I sometimes do, but today I'm not. I just want to come in, there's a little bit of grain that needs attention in here. So I'm just going to come in and do that. It's always better to cut the torn grain away rather than sand, because you would sand for ages. Let's have a look. Nearly. Now, one of the things, of course, about cutting in this way, putting your tool here and pulling, is it's very hard to get right up to that shoulder. So what I have here is a little 3/8 spindle gouge. And I'm going to just come in with a little cut there. And then put a little radius, little chamfer on the edge of the foot there. Right, next thing is getting a finish on it. So, bit of sanding. Got dust extraction. Hopefully it won't cause the sound to go too horrible, but I'm going to turn my mic down a little bit for this bit. Before I do that, where did I put my sanding box? Aha! There I put my sanding box. So I'm using Simon Hope arbors. His first iteration of these ones. There are newer ones with a stronger shank and a different mandrel to put in your drill. I think I'm going to have to move that tool rest out of the way a bit further. Right, so let's get some sanding done. This is always the fun bit, isn't it? So dust extractor back on, lathe on, drill on, speed down a little bit. And then keep the tool moving around. So you need to stop between grits and check how you're getting on. Still a few little lines there, so I need to go a bit further. Just check there's enough depth there. Yeah, there's plenty. Very nearly done. .240 grit next. Okay, that's the first lot of sanding out of the way. So I went 120, 180 and then 240 grit. Thanks for your question. Oh, was it a question to me? A question about dust extraction. I have got a new dust extractor, a Camvac 386, which is just purely dedicated for sanding collection or collection of chippings at the lathe. Obviously the sanding dust collection is really important. I don't have it on, but above my head up here, if I go onto the wider shot, I've got you can't see it behind the monitors up here. There you go, you can hear it. That's a air filter. Right, so all the tool marks have gone. That's looking very nice and clean. I went to 220 grit to 240 grit. A bit of dust there in the middle, but I now want to put a finish on the back here, and the finish my go-to finish is a bit of cut and polish from Chestnut Products, and then a bit of wax. So no sanding sealer needed. Just get a bit on your cloth or paper towel, not cloth, don't use cloth. Spinning on a lathe. Got some contamination in there, that should come out. Let's clean a bit and just wipe this on. Now I'm not going to wipe it on into the texture because it's quite, oh, he says, putting a big dollop on there. It's quite hard to sand to the bottom of texture, even with wonderful sanding abrasive waxes and pastes that we have access to. Can do it, of course, with a brush, but what I'll do as a way of finishing that, just wipe that out, is I put some oil over it just to bring it to a similar colour as the rest of the bowl. Right, so that wax goes on. Leave it for a moment or so, enough time to get your pot and put it away. And then it's a case of just turning the lathe on, holding your pad against it, support your sanding hand with your other hand, and you'll see a shine start to come on. The reflection of the lights in it will start to change. And like you would with waxing a piece, you're just moving it across the edge. Fresh bit of pad, turn it up, move it along, so the light reflection there is looking a lot stronger. Bit more speed. Round we come. So the grit gets broken down, smaller pieces. Puts a nice shine on it, and we've got a wax base now for further finishing. So shiny. I can still feel a bit of grit on there. A little bit of loose grit. What I like to do is finish off with one of the white nye webs. So over the colour on the rim I'm going to put a lacquer, but I like all of the wood to just have a wax finish, much softer, or an oil finish. Okay, now I'm going to put some wood wax on, just because that finishes more quickly than microcrystalline wax. Using a bit of safety cloth for this, just a little wipe of it. This isn't as durable a wax as the microcrystalline, but it does give a very nice silky feel. Don't need very much. And you can buff it straight away. You can, of course, other ways to finish this. If you wanted a harder wearing wax, you can use a carnauba wax stick, and that will go on very quickly. I think you can get yes, you can get a microcrystalline wax stick. I know Chestnut do one that's just microcrystalline, and then you can use that straight away. But I find sometimes I get streaks with it doing it that way. Not a problem with the products, but a problem with my technique. So wax, working it slowly to the edge, and if you've got the inclination to wind back about 3 minutes before any of the finishing was done, you'll see how that shine has developed up here, all the reflection of the lights. Right, so that's done. Lovely, smooth. I don't know why I colour wood when you can just do it like this and just stroke it. But there we go. I'm bitten by the bug and I can't fight it. So let's unwind that from the screw chuck. Put that spacer out of the way. So this is an Axminster SK100 chuck with C jaws, and there's their screw chuck that fits inside those C jaws. You can see it's got a little step on it because actually the inside of these jaws doesn't have a dovetail. They're parallel with a little lip that bites into the wood. Put that out of the way and back to... Thank you very much, Old Faithful. There is a lovely shiner. That should be enough for any bit of wood, shouldn't it? Not to ruin it with colour. Just playing devil's advocate. Right, that's moderately true. So speed down. It was turning quite fast before. So let's get that, address that first. Get the hose out of the way. Now I want to true up this face. And instead of pulling all the way across, I'm actually going to start with a push cut. I don't want to pull out on this corner and end up with some tear out on the back. One of the other things about having sealed and finished the back, or not sealed it, there wasn't any sealer, but waxed it, is that if I do get a bit of colour on it when I'm colouring it, it's easier to remove than if it were left as bare wood. Now there's a bit of wobble on there, you can see, so speed isn't too high. I think, Jonathan, yeah, your question about the web, Scotch-Brite, well, I think Scotch-Brite probably is reasonably similar. I haven't got any, so I can't judge the two of them. And yes, Roger, you did hear that colour wasn't required, but some of us need it. So it's bouncing around with just the bevel, you can hear it's not true. Going to bring the tool back and then ease it slightly forward. And if I come onto the overhead and turn it off, the bevel is pointing like that. I haven't got it straight on. It will follow the direction of the bevel. I don't want it straight on yet because I just want to be able to turn this edge and get a clean cut all the way around. Then I can tidy it up. But you can see on this tailstock camera that it's missing quite a large part of it still, so that's why it's skipping. A little bit of torn grain there, but that will turn off once we get it level. So this is where you get the grain being torn out. My wonderful retractable Sharpie. You only need one hand to use them. So the grain is going this way, so this is end grain it's cutting in, and I was cutting quite square across it, so it's not surprised that it looks a bit manky and bumpy and bobbly. The same there as well. So I can bring the speed up now that I've got that edge. Bit low with the tool rest. Got that nice fun little skate across just then. I think I probably had my concentrating face on just then. Ah, Tyus, I take the blame entirely. I'm so sorry to have got you hooked. Now, if we have a look at that end grain, cut much cleaner. Just want to see if it's slightly higher in the edge, the middle than the edge. I generally like to have my rims slanting slightly inwards. If I go on the overhead, you can see what I mean. So it's not perpendicular to the lathe bed. It's running that way. I ideally want it going like that to sort of lead your eyes into the bowl. Although the technique I'm going to use, the colouring technique I'm going to use on this one, I think works better with a very subtle rim angle. And subtle is my favourite thing. Now I'm stopping there just to show you what would happen if I carry on. I've got the very open flute, but it's being supported by that bevel. It's if I carry on and allow this wing to hit that shoulder there, bink, except it's a bit louder than bink and a little bit scarier. Ah, hi Terry, nice to see you. I wish I'd timed it better and was putting the stains on, but maybe you'll catch it later. Right, so let's just see, that is angled in. Trying to just get a smoother finish on it, I hope. Let's have a look. Sometimes the smoother finish makes it worse. Right, that's good enough for sanding. So, dust extractor again. Get my 3 grits. 120 to begin with. Tool rest is a little bit in the way there. That's better. Dust on. So the first grit is the most important in terms of getting your wood smooth and true. Take care when you do sand, because you do get a very sharp edge there, and I'll soften that in a moment. But you could just feel, but you need to do both, I think, if you can. Look at it as well, just to make sure you haven't got some torn grain that you'd missed. I think a couple more passes. Next grit. So soften that edge now. Don't feel the edge while it's spinning, just in case you haven't softened it particularly well. That'll do. Last grit, which is 240. Now you may have noticed I changed the position of where the dust was extracting from. When it was lower down there, it was a lot was escaping over the top. I got a little bit repairing to do. You may have noticed as well I slipped off the edge and the back of the pad just caught the back, but that'll be easily fixed. Right, so that's ready for colouring. Hip hip hooray! So get a few things out of the way. Get the tools out of the way. Tool tray out of the way. And protect our lathe. Oh, and take that off. That feels better. Have you seen my new haircut? Of course you have. You've been watching since the beginning. Right. Let's go on to that tailstock camera. So I'm going to just do a very simple design on the outside today. And going to start off a stain don't often see a lot of people using. I'm going to start off with some white. Give it a good shake. The white has a lot more pigment in it, it seems to me, than the other stains. And I've tried putting it on with paper cloth, but it does start to degrade the cloth quite quickly. So I've got a little flat brush here that I'm going to use. So just painting it on. And the reason for doing this is to allow the other colours that I'm going to use to be as close to the colours they are in the bottle as when they go on the wood. This looks like a very pale piece of beech, so it may not have had as much effect on the colour as other bits of wood, but beech can sometimes, certainly I've noticed with blues, give them a bit of a green hue, which is not a bad thing in itself if you don't mind it. But I want the colours to be really bright and vibrant. Now, putting quite a lot of stain on here because I want that wood filled with it as well in a way. This is almost acting a bit like a sealer. The spirit stains do seal the wood. I don't think the same thing happens with water-based stains. If you keep applying them, I think they just continue to soak into the wood in the same way. Not that I've got nearly as much experience of water stains as I have with the others. White has a different pigment to the other stains. Drops out of the solution very easily. That's why I have to give it a shake. If I hadn't shaken it, it would have gone on very, very thin and wouldn't have given me the body that I want. And it probably took me a couple of years or so before I started using the white. I love using it now. Can't stop myself. For cleaning out the brush, obviously water will do a job. I do put them in water to stop them going hard, but then I will wash it out with a bit of meths, or is it denatured alcohol? The same thing. Now I would normally leave that to dry, but we've got 13 minutes left. Don't have quite so much use for this indoors as before. So let's just give it a bit of warmth to help it dry. One thing I like about stains in the workshop, I've said this before in lots of demos, is that the stains dry into the wood rather than on it, unless you put lots on like I do sometimes. So it's not the same as problem of getting dust stuck in it usually. So just give that a few moments to dry off. See if that was enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Still see some of the flecks of the grain coming through, which is another nice thing about using stains. It adds that other dimension. Right, I'm going to put the compressor on. And I'm using my little portable compressor that's very quiet. Gloves next. Where are the gloves? Move some of these shavings out of the way. New pair of gloves today. I do try to reuse them, but make sure you, when you take them off, you don't leave them. If they've turned inside out, once you've taken them off, don't put them back on inside out, because the stains will transfer themselves from the gloves to your hands. Right, tailstock. Get a nice close view of this. So I've got the white on there. It's nice and dry. I'm just going to do a very simple design. I'm only going to be spraying for a short while, but I would encourage you all to wear a respirator, even for a short amount of airbrushing. Just helps while the fumes are at their highest in the workshop. I have a door at the end, that one behind me over there, that is closed at the moment. Oh, it is 16 degrees. Maybe I can afford to open it a little. Right, so I'm going to sound a bit muffled. It might be an improvement. And I'm going to start off with yellow. And I'm going to have the lathe spinning for this. Now I might come back and put more on, but if I put too much on in one go, it'll run and won't look as neat. After those, working my way up through my favourite colour combo of yellow, orange and red. Reminding me of an old-fashioned sweet at the moment. Going to come back with yellow. And then red. Just to strengthen those colours a bit further. Right, if we stop it to have a look at it. Yes, I like those colours. It needs a bit more work though. A jawbreaker it is indeed. I'm going to put some black on just to give it a lot of big contrast. So I've got to put several coats of it on. You saw how it darkens the more it goes on. I've deliberately not done a regular design because it's easier to not do a regular design. Neatness, as you know, is not my thing.
Got to get in very close though to keep the lines fine. There you go, that's looking a lot darker now. And that one. And that one. And that one. So let's darken up those colours. And finally, I say finally, but it might not be, a little bit of orange. Where was another orange one?
And that is the colouring done. So next would be leave this to dry and put some finish on it. I usually like to finish the rim with lacquer before I turn the inside out. But there we go. I haven't got time to do that. I don't have one of these finished. I've got another one, slightly different effect. This was textured and then painted with blues and greens and gold, but this will have a similar kind of shine, similar glossy look to it, and that really does help to lift it. I'm going to leave it to dry. I'll put sealer on, and these are the products that I'll be using: acrylic sanding sealer and then gloss lacquer, 3 coats, cut back a little bit between each coat. At least 20 minutes drying time, especially as I've now got the shed up to 16 degrees. I ought to make use of it. So that's my fill-in, and I do wish Ellen a speedy recovery, so that she can take part in one of these in future. Yeah, it's great fun to be here. Thank you, 82 of you watching. That's really wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I will be posting pictures of it when it's finished on my Facebook, and at the very top, pinned to the chat, you should find my links. If you click on there, it'll take you to, well, you're obviously on my YouTube channel, but you'll be able to find my Facebook, my Instagram, my website. You'll also be able to sign up to my mailing list. And those of you who have joined from my mailing list today, thank you so much. And apologies for sending 3 emails when 1 would have done. I sent the first one without the link. Oops. Sent the second one, or thought I had, but didn't appear in my sent box after I've added the link to it. So sent it again and ended up sending that one twice to everyone. So apologies for filling your inboxes. But yes, click on the link and sign up to my mailing list, and then I'll always let you know when I'm going to be doing something live, or any IRD events that you'll be able to join in with. But I will be doing free YouTube videos still. This is the first one of the year. I've had great fun. I think there is someone waiting for you all to go over across and join them for their demo. I should be more organised to know who it is. If I just click up there, where have I got the text about it? Yeah, so I was filling for Ellen. So it's Kez O'Sullivan, Spirit and Bear is the next maker. So do click that link and go across to the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening, morning, depending where you are in the world. Thank you for all the lovely comments coming in. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Malcolm. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Kez. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you, Terry. Great calendar behind me. Indeed. In fact, I should put on there the virtual festival craft fair. I'll add that later on. If you want one of them, and I'm on the June page, then check out Chestnut Products website, and I think they're still available. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, as I keep saying, and thanks for tuning in. I'm going to end the stream any moment now, but if you do have any questions later on, please get in touch with me. Send me an email, put a comment in the recording of the video, and happy turning. Thanks a lot, everyone.